with our science expert, Dr. Emily Grossman, on the spot with the questions you've been sending in. Question 1, Helen from Peterborough via Facebook wants to know, why does newspaper and vinegar stop windows streaking? We've all heard this, haven't you? Wash your windows with newspaper and vinegar. Why should it stop windows streaking?
Well, newspaper's great for cleaning things with because it doesn't leave behind any residue, whereas if you use like a cloth or paper towel or something, it's going to leave behind a residue of lint, sort of fluffy stuff all over your window. Vinegar's good because it's a natural weak acid. It's got acetic acid in it mixed with water. And the acetic acid acts like a normal acid in your household cleaner, dissolving grease and even rust in just the same way as your household domestic
But use a pair of rubber gloves, otherwise you get all the print off on your hand. But the print doesn't come off on the window.
No, it doesn't.
Amazing.
And the vinegar's a bit smelly, but it works pretty well.
Yeah,
it's the same. You can also use fruit juice and Coca-Cola or lemons because they've got a citric acid in, which is also a weak acid.
But it's sticky Coca-Cola, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea on your windows.
There goes my year's supply. Oh, well. Ollie Speller asked via Twitter, why do some of us blokes go bald or grey, but only some?
That's actually two questions. So
I wasn't pointed and looking at the man in the front. A nervous laugh from the man in the front row. Right.
All right, so if we deal with the baldness thing first.
Yep.
So baldness is actually caused by the sex hormone testosterone.
What, too much or too little?
Well, it's actually a byproduct of it and what it gets converted into. And it was discovered that it was to do with testosterone because back in the Middle Ages, choir boys who were castrated didn't go bald. So that's how they...
But it's a big price to pay. I think I'd rather sing tenor or bass and keep me kit. You know, no, fine.
So
right.
as you asked, you said, you know, is it too much or too little? Well, it's actually what the testosterone gets broken down into. It's called dihydrotestosterone, DHT. Yeah. And that happens slowly over your lifetime.
So arguably then, men who have a lot of hair as they get older, probably... No, I'm not going to go there.
It's actually to do with the sensitivity of the follicles in the hair to this hormone.
Right.
Because either you can have different levels of it. So, for example, Asian men have lower levels of the DHT, so they don't get as much hair loss. But also, over time, the follicles get more sensitive, and a lot of men have an inherited sensitivity to the hormone that makes the hair in the follicles thin and then gradually fall out and the hairline recede.
So it's to do with your personal sensitivity. Very, very briefly, what about going grey?
So going grey is to do with the pigment cells also in the hair follicles, and they naturally become less and less active over time. It's a very natural, normal process, and then eventually they die, which means that they produce less and less pigment, so it goes fairer and lighter, and then eventually no pigment, so the hair goes grey. And this happens normally and naturally. Again, it's controlled by genetics, so it depends on the age that your parents or grandparents probably started to go grey. And it can also be controlled by smoking and by your diet, and sometimes by stress or severe shocks. Some people say they've actually gone grey overnight.
Overnight, gosh, right. All I can say is thank you, Dad. Thank you. And a big thank you to Dr. Emily Grossman. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.